How are you?
I'm okay. I'm okay. Can't complain. Can't complain. The weather is getting nicer. Well, yes.
Eh, Yeah, by the
Now,
time this airs, we'll be in good weather. But right now, we've had good weather all week, but it's supposed to snow on Sunday here.
oh God,
It's my fault. I took my snow tires off my car.
what'd you do that for?
I know. I'm creating snow. Um, but there's always that
Well, you know
one
what?
random snow.
Well, yes. There's going to be a snowfall in May. There always is,
Mhm.
and then we have our summer.
And then we're good. Yeah,
So then we're good. Then we're good. So I don't put my winter clothes and all that stuff away until May.
until May. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, it's been, yeah, because there's always one. I still put my stuff away. But because I'm hopeful.
I learned my lesson when my kids were small, and I put all the winter stuff away, and then it snowed, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to go find all the winter stuff, and yeah. So no.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Craziness. So by the time this airs, our stuff will be out. But we've been silently working on some new stuff in the background for the last little while.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about what we've built and what we've been working on. And so again, it'll probably be out by the time it will be out by the time this airs. But we built a new program called Herd Intelligence, which we are super, super proud of. And
Yes.
inside that
It's kind of a
program,
funny story of how we got to herd. Like people think herd, like what? It's super funny. Well, we think it's funny because Mel and I had a planning day, a strategic planning day at her place. And so I went there and I'm looking around. I'm like, oh, she has some beautiful artwork. This is all really cool. And there are elephants everywhere. And I'm like, oh, well, she has elephants. I have elephants in my house too. So we have this like 3-4 hour meeting. And then on my way out, we're talking about what are we going to name this? What do we think? And I'm like, whatever we do, it has to be about elephants because you love elephants, I love elephants, and it's just like a thing. Well, here we are.
here we
Herd
are.
intelligence because
Herd
we found
intelligence.
some real cool stuff about it.
Yeah, we did find some cool stuff about it. We're not going to talk about that in this video, but we will bring that stuff back at some point. But it should be on our website by the time this airs. But yeah, we did find some really cool stuff just about, like, and I think everybody knows, like, elephants are super emotionally intelligent. They very much operate as one collective group. So our sort of our tagline, so to speak, for herd intelligence is herd mentality redefined. So yeah, we're really excited about it. But as part of that, we've kind of taken all of the work that we've been doing over a lot of years, both of us separately and then now together. And we've built 9 archetypes of sort of the archetypes that we've seen in the workplace and sort of how they show up from both behavior as well as environmental and then as well as relational, and really looked at sort of the workplace as a system as opposed to just independent things, because that's the reality. It is a system. And we thought it'd be kind of cool to talk about some of the main ones, because even if you are not from an industry that we work with and that we spend a lot of our time with, they still show up in all the industries. So it could be a neat thing to just kind of chat about.
Yeah. So let's play a little bit of a game, right? Let's do a descriptor, right?
Okay.
We're not going to give you the name of this until the end, but a
Until the
descriptor
end.
of this person. Do you work with a person who, right, knows a lot about everything, like knows the job really, really good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Really, really well, right? And this person is fairly quiet, supportive, helps out, does everything, shows up all the time. Cool. And then one day, they're gone. They just leave.
Wait.
It's like, what? Where'd they go? I didn't know they were unhappy. What's going on? Have you ever worked with someone like that? What do you think? Well, we see them everywhere, and we call this person the ghost.
Yes. And I think the biggest, they just disappear. And almost even when they're there, they're a little bit invisible, like a ghost, like, because they're the person who does what's expected of them. So they're kind of under the radar, right? Like where they're not really drawing attention to themselves one way or the other. They might not be the top performer on the team because that person usually is a little, makes you aware that they're there. We're going to talk about them another day. So they might not be the top performer on the team, but they're definitely not a low performer on the team. Like they're doing what needs to get done. They don't need a ton of management. They're just working on their own, but they're silently starting to pull away from the rest of the team. And typically, and I know we've said this for years, I know I have, at least to managers, where I've said, don't forget about your good performers, because sometimes what happens in leadership is we end up getting pulled to the people who are the poor performers, or the people who need a lot of attention. And because we're getting pulled to them, we forget about this group over here. And so that is sometimes when that ghosting starts.
Yeah. And it's hard. Like when you think about it, when you're good at what you do, and you know, sometimes you get ignored because you're good at what you do. Right? Yeah. So like, I don't have to worry about them because of whatever. But the thing is, everyone needs a certain level of recognition, appreciation, all of those things. And when we ignore, well, this one, the ghost, then they will probably disappear and go somewhere else where they do feel more appreciated and valued.
Yeah. And sometimes too, I'd say that like with the ghost, the other thing is this could also be the person who is actually still working there, right? Like, I'm going to forget the name of what we've been calling it. The quiet quitters, right? That's the cool kids term right now, right? Is that what that's right? Is that what it is?
I think so. Yeah. Quiet
I don't know. Yeah. I'm not cool. We've established that. But they could also still be working there, right? They're the person who's there. They're doing the work, but they're like, psychologically they're out, right? So they're showing up, they're doing it, but sort of that difference between, it's like, are they actually engaged, right? They're probably passively disengaged, and are they doing the extra? Are they contributing? Are they bringing new ideas forward? Are they going out of their way? Probably not anymore, because they've silently pulled back, even though they're still doing the minimum amount of work that they need to do to stay off the radar.
I remember when I was working somewhere at one time, and I was just speaking with one of the people that have been there for quite some time. They were probably, I think they said 15 to 20 years they were in this place. And they said, so how are you enjoying, you know, your work and your job? And they said, you know what? It's a paycheck. I'm here, I come, I do my job, and I do it fairly well, but I'm done trying to support and give input and all of those kinds of things, because no one's listening, or they take my idea and they don't acknowledge that it was my idea, and I'm just here. And I felt so, like, I felt a sense of sadness, like, what kind of existence is that? I show up, I do my job, I leave. There's no enjoyment in it.
Well, and if we think about it from an energy system standpoint, right? It's that spiritual energy. It's that why. Like, do I feel like my work is valued? Do I feel like I'm bringing something to the job? And so that ghost starts to show up when their values are probably in a bit of misalignment in terms of what can go on. And I think with everything going on right now in the workplace, and like what we're seeing and hearing is just about like, it's about that disconnection, like where how we used to do it isn't how we do it anymore. AI is scary. Like, we don't really know what's going on. Leadership doesn't have, like, I had somebody say to me repeatedly about a very large company, like, you know, leadership is udderless right now. Like, they don't know, or rudderless, sorry. They don't know where they're going. Right? Udder is very different than rudder, just so we're clear.
It's all good.
Totally different word, everybody. Rudderless, right? Like there's no direction. Like we don't know where we're headed. And that's a lot of the time where you can start to lose these people, because these are people who probably had like high value connected to the work that I'm doing. And we don't realize as leaders how important direction is until there's no direction. And then you start to see people go, well, if I don't know how to win, if I don't know what winning looks like anymore, how do I do it? And that's hard for somebody who's a performer.
Yeah. And also people who, that lack of clarity with regards to how to do their job and how to do well and how to know they're winning, for people who take pride or who are fearful, literally have a sense of fear when they
Mhm.
don't know what to do. Like their anxiety goes up. To have to show up every day into that type of
Yeah.
environment is too much.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Well, and we were talking about it when we were building out the program. Like, we spent a lot of time talking about ambiguity, right? And like when I was leading and growing managers, we used to say the ability to deal with ambiguity was an executive leadership skill. Like, that was something that was sort of the differentiator for us as one of the biggest like competencies that differentiated sort of a frontline manager from a district manager, or from that person to sort of move into the next level of leadership, was that ability to deal with ambiguity. And it's like, we are now living in a world where everything is a little bit ambiguous. Nobody really knows what's coming up next. And so you think about what that's doing to people, right? If I am not somebody with that as a natural competency, and we're not as an organization doing something to intentionally help people feel more confident around ambiguity, how much chaos is that creating inside people, right? And like you talk about the anxiety of it. And I think about, like, if we think about, again, the average workplace right now, we know psychological safety is a risk within the workplace. We know that there's a lot of confusion and concern just around the economy as a whole, like all these external factors that nobody has control over that lead to internal situations that cause chaos. And then you throw in the fact that we've got people who don't have this skill set because it's never been a skill set that was like a standard requirement.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's really important that leaders understand all of, like, we're going to do videos on all these different archetypes, but it's really important that leaders understand who is on their team, right? Because otherwise, the cost of having to replace somebody, especially replacing somebody like the ghost, who has a lot of institutional knowledge, right? It costs a lot. What's the figure? Is it like 1.5 times?
Yeah, it's typically about like at least 1 to 1.5 times annual salary to replace somebody. So you think about that, like, and where that sort of figure comes from is around, like, number one, lost revenue. Like, if this is, say, a salesperson, so that's where that number goes up. Because if you're replacing a salesperson, you're losing their revenue while you don't have somebody in that position. You're losing revenue while they're ramping up. You're probably losing revenue because they're not performing at their absolute peak in the interim. But then you also throw into that the cost of recruitment, time, training, all of those things. So it's at least 1 to 1.5 times annual salary for a loss. But that number, that's on the bare minimum side of things.
Yeah. So it's important. So for leaders, if you have a ghost on your team, right, what are some of the things that you need to look out for? How can you help support? Because it's funny, when I was in child welfare, when I moved up into management, everybody knows the job.
Yeah.
But it was the personalities and the behaviors that really needed to be managed on the team, right, as a manager. And so we're going to help you. We're going to help y'all. We're going to help you.
Well, it's funny, right? Because I used to always say, and I kind of would say that I would love, from a sales team perspective, we all love a top performer. We're going to talk about them another day. We all love a top performer. Typically, top performers are not always the easiest to manage. They come with their own challenges. They drive great results, but they do come with some of their own challenges. What I always loved was sort of that steady performer, like the person who would, like, because they tended to not be as dramatic. Top performers, big personalities, right? That person who's just like a good, steady performer was always somebody I appreciated because, you know, they showed up, they did the work, they contributed, they would do extra, like in the sense of like they would think proactively because they were. The challenge with top performers, I don't want to get into the other archetypes because we're coming to that one, but the challenge sometimes with those top performers is they're very focused on themselves in their own winning, because that's what's really important to them. And so as sort of the ghost probably is that person who is a good steady performer who's really concerned about the organization. Right. And so I think the biggest thing that I would say to a manager for a leader to pay attention to would be just sort of a change in that contribution. I feel like that's probably one of the early indicators, is just like you were saying, that person who used to offer ideas and they're not anymore. That would be a red flag, right? That person who used to offer to, you know, switch shifts with somebody and now they're not. Why? Like those sort of silent changes where it's not that they're saying anything, but there's a behavior that's changed that they're not doing anymore. And you need to start to ask why.
That disengagement is happening. And the thing is, because leaders are, you know, the squeaky wheel thing, the person that's the loudest is going to get the most attention.
Yeah.
Because the ghost is not seeking a lot of attention, leaders really need to pay attention to that.
Yeah. Because it's a surprise. That's kind of the idea of the ghost, right? Is it's a surprise. And you're like, whoa, how did I not see that coming? But then afterwards, if you truly sit back and reflect, you'd go, oh, hang on. They stopped taking extra shifts a little while ago. They stopped offering to train the new person a little while ago. They, you know, like they stopped asking questions. They stopped challenging ideas. Like it's things that they stopped doing. And so it's less noticeable because it's probably nothing big. It's just a little thing that's in a whole bunch of little things that all add up.
Yeah. And so having like, first of all, becoming aware of who's on your team. If you have a ghost on your team and you're noticing that, then having that conversation with them, that direct conversation about how they're doing, what's going on for them, right? What are some of their goals? What are they seeing? Or even just having that conversation about, I'm noticing this shift. How can I support? What do you need?
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing is like when you start to, and so I would say as a leader, how do I start to pay attention to those things? Because again, when we think about how do we get to this point where this ghost has shown up, it's probably because I've gotten a little bit busy. I've stopped, or I'm trying to manage the chaos, all the environmental things that we already talked about, revenue's down, like execs are on my butt and really want stuff, like whatever those things are, right? Has led to me not being as reflectional, is that a word? I'm just making words up today.
Make it up.
Not reflecting as often, not maybe I'm missing one-on-ones that I used to have. Maybe I used to take time to hang out and have coffee with somebody, and now I don't have time to have those side conversations. Like just those little things that we sometimes take for granted in terms of how valuable they actually are. It's not because the leader's intentionally creating this environment, but it's usually the things that led to me slowing down a little bit to make sure my people were still a priority. That is why I've lost sight of these things. And so I think the biggest thing you can do first is, I know like one of the tricks I used to use was I would schedule in like employee time. That was just like, I'm just going to put it in my calendar. I'm going to treat it like a meeting. And that's going to be my time where I'm just going to be out and about talking to people without any goals, any intentions other than just being available.
Yeah. In any, like within our business, within anywhere I've worked, I've always scheduled weekly calls.
Yeah.
Right. Or bi-weekly, depending on what it is, but always, because you need to have that check-in. People need to have that. Right. And there's, you know what, to be fair, there are some employees where they don't need that much interaction, but maybe an email so that they know that, you know, like they might not need the physical meeting, but they need the communication.
Well, and I think even to that too, like book the meeting. And if you only use 10 minutes of a 30-minute meeting, nobody ever complains about getting 20 minutes back in their day. Like it's those things, right? Like, or even just be present. I think that's another thing that I know I've seen a lot more of lately, right? Like where attention is just hard to get. And so it's like when you are meeting with somebody, do you have your email off? Do you have your phone notifications? Like what are those things to make them feel like they're actually important and valued versus not?
Yeah. I'm looking at the side because my computer is saying the battery's in, it's plugged in. I'm like, what's going on?
I'm making up words. You're having tech issues. It's going to be a great recording today. It's going to be a great recording. We might have to edit. We don't normally do that. So if we think about, because we like to play sort of both sides of the coin with the way that we work, where it's like, the leader can do some things, but also what do I do if I'm listening to this and I hear this and I go, ooh, that's where I'm at right now. I'm the ghost. And like, I actually am self-reflecting, because we like to also put some self-accountability onto people in the work that we do, that it's not just for the organization to do everything and for the leader to do everything, that this is a team effort, part of the herd. Yeah. And as part of the herd, we all have a collective responsibility to show up. So what are some of the things I can do if I'm the ghost?
Okay, so if I'm the ghost and you recognize that you're the ghost, what is it that you're missing, right? What is it that you're needing? Because we can't expect others to be able to read our minds.
Yeah,
we've gotta be able to vocalize, right? So kind of sitting back and doing that self-reflection, like, what is it that I'm missing? What is it that I'm needing? What's different now than when I was enjoying my work, right? And doing that piece, that self-reflection, and then bringing that to your leader.
Yeah. And I think one of the powers of the ghost, your computer's still saying things, isn't it?
I'm listening. I'm just making sure this is.
One of the powers of the ghost too is, because they are a consistent performer, they're really great knowledge. They have a lot of knowledge. And we said that right at the start, that they've got that institutional knowledge. So how can we maximize that in a way that feels valuable? So like as the ghost, I might say, I want to mentor somebody. That will re-engage me. That'll bring some value. Right? Like that's an opportunity. Or, I'd love to take on a new project, because projects are a great way to feel valued. But I think
meaningful ones though.
Meaningful ones. Yeah. It's my role to say sort of, here's how I think I can bring value. Is there an opportunity? And like, I can remember a point in my career where I was just feeling like I needed a new challenge, because it's like, I could do my job in my sleep. Like that wasn't, so doing my job wasn't the thing, but I was feeling like I was disengaging because I could do my job in my sleep. And for me, I'm somebody who loves to learn, who needs to always feel like I'm being challenged. And so I went and I said, I'd like to do, like, can I take on a project? Can I do something? And because I had that conversation once, that turned into lots of different opportunities over the years. And I was so lucky with some of the challenges and things that I got to do over the years. And that led to me traveling to different places and experiencing different things, which kept me engaged and kept me energized, because it meant it never slowed down for me, which for me was a good thing. That's not an everybody thing. And so I think if I hadn't said that, if I think back to that point in time, I had a really good friend who said to me, because I was frustrated and I was kind of complaining and whining a little bit about it. And he said to me, well, what are you going to do about it? And it was just like that. How you have those people in your life, like I think we're that way for each other now, right? That person who's just like, stop your whining. What are you going to do? Who'd like challenge you. And that was kind of him at the time. He was just like, okay, if that's how you feel, cool. But what are you going to do about it? And so that one little question was enough to kind of trigger me into, what are you going to do about it? And I just said, I want more. Like I'm bored.
And if you find that you have, you're constantly thinking negatively, right? Then it's time to start thinking about why, what's going on? Why am I thinking negatively? Because just like what you just said, Mel, like if you're constantly not whining, but complaining. If you're constantly whining and complaining, then ask yourself why. What's going on? Like that self-reflective piece, like you will always hear me talk about that because it's so important.
Well, and I think to add to that too, right? Like there's one of the clients that I've been working with the last little while, there's been some pretty significant change. So we do some work with teams that have been purchased by private equity. And when companies have been purchased by private equity, it can lead to some pretty significant changes, because the reality is private equity has a different goal than perhaps the ownership team had previously, especially if it was a small ownership team. So, those private equity groups, they're driving bottom line. That's what they care about. And when bottom line becomes the main target, that that can lead to disengagement of the employees because it doesn't feel as values focused as it always has. Now, I've worked with private equity that have not operated that way, where bottom line was still the important thing, but they did it in a different way. So there's ways to make all of this work. But the one group that I'm thinking of, this group, it was very bottom line focused, and so that was leading to a lot of challenges within the team. And I think that's where we all have to recognize too, we do have agency, right? I get to choose how I show up. And so to that group, I said to them, you know, you kind of have three different options here. Option one is you don't have to be here. Like we all need work, yes, but do you need this work? If it's really, really, truly time for you to go, then start to take the steps to go. And that's okay because we all have agency. But then it was also, I was like, are there boundaries you need to set? Like if this environment isn't the environment you want to be a part of, what are the boundaries you need to set so that you're okay being a part of it? And then the third was, you know, just say, okay, this is what it's like here, accept it and decide what I need to show up like to be part of this new environment. And I think we're kind of at a bit of a point like that in so many organizations right now because change is so present and it's causing people to show up differently. But if we can all take agency back to the fact that I actually do have control over how I show up. That's the one thing I get to control.
Yeah.
And what that could do.
And where you choose to have your thoughts. So where I'm going with this is if you're thinking negatively, you are going to see things negatively.
That RAS filter.
Yeah, and if you intentionally say change the conversation, change the perspective, then you will also change what you see. Your experience is based on the interpretation of whatever is going on. Right? And so therefore, if you want to change the experience, you've got to start changing the thought because it all starts with that thought. Yeah.
And I think too, sometimes people have to like, again, and we've talked about this, like in times of stress, we tend to think about how things affect us personally. We tend to act from a point of selfishness, not in a bad way, just because it's a survival mode. And so we don't always see things through a realistic lens. We see things, we sometimes see things about how it specifically affects us. And it's hard to be told it's not all about you. Yeah. But sometimes it's not all about you.
Yeah, well, that's why it's important to have either a coach or a counselor or a really good friend who's going to be honest with you. Not that yes friend that is always going to agree with you, that ride or die that's like, yeah, okay, you're right, let's go. Not that one. One's going to tell you the truth.
Yeah. Right? We all need that friend who's not afraid to tell us. Friend or sibling. I feel like siblings are usually good for that. Siblings will just tell it to you like it is.
Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah. So I have a younger sister. She's younger by about 5 years, and it's like sometimes I think she should have been the older sister because she's so wise.
That's funny. Even birth order is not a thing, eh?
Okay, I think our time is up.
Okay.
What's our question? What are we leaving people to ponder?
This is a little bit hard because it's specific to the ghost. I guess, I think as we go through each of these archetypes, it would be cool for people to just start to be aware, right? So I guess I would say maybe the question or the ponder would be like, if you were to reflect on your teammates who have left, and who have already left, when could you have identified that maybe they needed that extra conversation or that extra question, or you could see that it was starting to change, and maybe who is that person and what did you miss, or what did you maybe just turn a blind eye to?
Yeah. And not only the people that have left, but the people that are on your team currently. If you have identified someone as the ghost, what's the conversation that you can have with them? To start to try to re-engage. Yeah,
definitely. If you're on the leadership side of things, I think that's the biggest action you can take away from this. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll be back with another archetype.
We will. Thanks, everybody.
All right, everyone. Bye.
I'm Melissa Maloney.
I'm Jen Matwawana. Till next time.
Bye.